Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to talk about fetch lands today. That's right, why you need them, why you gotta have them, and why Wizards needs to keep printing them. It's coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. If you're new to the channel, you somehow found me out that in the wild world of YouTube, and you're here now, checking it out, well, thanks a lot, man. I hope you enjoyed the content today and decided to stick around and subscribe. Love to have new people to talk to. All right, guys, remember this. All those hundreds of new people, we're going to talk. We're going to have conversations about Magic. A lot of vintage stuff. I understand. That's kind of like what I like to do, being an old school player. But sometimes I like to cover newer stuff, like the fetch. Now, fetch lands are not exactly new, are they? They're not exactly new. But they are important and they are relevant to our conversation today, which is why I'm bringing them up. It's all about the fetch. You've heard this phrase before lots of times. All about the fetch. Magic is a game that depends on land cycle to cast out what you need to cast, right? You understand that. You understand that. I understand that. I used to not understand that, but we'll get there. Now, Wizards first brought out a form of fetch land in Mirage. Most people forget this. They think of like when Onslaught came. But the first iteration of the fetch land was way back in Mirage. Fetch lands were introduced as a cycle for Mirage. Each of these original lands enter the battlefield tapped and can be sacrificed to search for a land with at least one of two basic land types of an allied color pair. There was Floodplain, Bad River, Rocky Tar Pit, Mountain Valley, and of course, Grasslands. Now, some people are asking about the allied versus enemy right now. They're going, allied enemy? In case you're new to Magic, hey, I'm helping you out. Allied are when like the colors pair off together like harmoniously. So you're talking white-blue. An enemy is cards that are opposite of each other, like black-white. They don't normally mesh together, right? That's an enemy fetch land. Usually they're the better ones. Scalding Tarn, red-blue. Awesome. Oh, amazing fetch land. Also one of the most expensive, right? If not the most expensive. So, that's kind of how it works out for our fetch lands. Now, the one that most of us are aware of came out later on in Onslaught. Now, Onslaught, allied colored fetch lands. In Onslaught, a new cycle of fetch lands was introduced. Each of these lands enter the battlefield untapped, in contrast to their Mirage counterparts. They allow the controller to sacrifice them, pay 1 life, and search the library for a land card with at least one of two basic land types, an allied colored pair. These 5 lands were reprinted in Khans of Tarkir, and those printings also appeared in Fate Reforged booster packs. Now, yes, they appeared in Fate Reforged, but at a very reduced number. You basically always got 2, 1 or 2 in a box. Always. Whereas in Khans of Tarkir, being a person who actually opened boxes a lot back then, Khans of Tarkir, you could get as few as 3, as many as 7. I myself never got 7, but I saw 7 opened. I have gotten to 6 myself, which is crazy to think about, considering how cheap con boxes still are, right? They're not that pricey yet. I have a video on box prices actually on Saturday, a pre-recorded video. So I look forward to seeing you guys then, but it will be pre-recorded and it'll come up at its regular time. So don't worry, I'll be there to answer any comments and stuff still. But of course, where I go doesn't have good internet, so I always have to record, around here. All right? So think about that. You've got these amazing lands. They are needed. You gotta have them. But you don't have any. How is that fair? Wizards stop printing them basically at Fate Reforged, okay? In any standard set. And Khans was the last regular set where you just open them in packs all the time, whereas opposed to Fate Reforged, where it was basically they guaranteed you 1 or 2 packs. Like 1 or 2 packs would have 1. And you could not get foil in the Fate Reforged, okay? You could only get regular ones. So they have these amazing fetch lands. They know we need them as land cycle. So because they don't print them that often, the prices have tended to drift higher over time. They've not been kept at a lower level. When Khans first came out, you could get like a flooded strand for like 12 bucks, 10 bucks. The prices were suppressed for all. Wooded Foothills were $5. They were suppressed because there were so many out there and so many were opened. But over the years, it's been a long time since Khans, right? You're talking 6 years now, 7 years. And the price have slowly drifted up on a lot of these lands. And the enemy fetch lands haven't been printed that often at all, so they're much harder to come across, hence their prices are higher. Wizards moved to the model of putting these into specialty products. They put them to Master Series or Secret Lair. They're putting them in Modern Horizons 2, which of course is a very important product because Modern Horizons, the original set, had nice cycle lands, was pretty good. But the key there was it was $2.49 a box, which cost more, but there were some great cards in that set. I am betting this year they're either going to reduce the frequency of this particular rare, being the fetch lands, or they're going to raise the price to $3.49 a box Canadian or $2.79 for Americans is what I think will happen. And UK, Euro, I don't know, that'd be like what, $2.10, $2.20? That's what I'm expecting to see happen. Those are my predictions. I've got some stuff written down, but it'll be a video later on. But when we're talking about these coming up, the reason it's relevant is because so many formats use them. When we're talking Commander, Vintage, Legacy, you got to have this stuff, right? We need to move it forward. So we need to have more of it or those prices tend to drift up. Wizards knows it makes them money. Understandable, they're a business. And they will keep it plodding along at a certain price point. But it's still going to be something that the average player only spends $50 a month is really got to save up and work up toward getting fetch lands for their decks. It's a real onerous task when it's that expensive to afford cards of that nature. Whereas you can just put a basic land in and say it's done, right? Or you could buy Mirage ones, but then you're coming in with a negative being the fact that it comes into play tapped. But they're much cheaper at $2-3 each, right? So I want to show you something here. When we go ahead and you look right now at a Flooded Strand for $23, I remember when these things, like I said, were $10, $11, $12. Canadian, this is $23 US. Flood Strands are kind of high. Wizards does need to reprint this product to bring these prices down to an affordable level for players to be able to afford the land cycle necessary to even be slightly competitive. Not to mention all the awesome cards you need, but to be competitive, you got to have a decent land cycle, so they know they got to bring it down, which is probably part of the reason why they're deciding to put this into Modern Masters 2. Premium product will have a higher price point, but maybe they will make it at a regular printable, right, regular rarity, and bring the price down, at least temporarily. Now, when you look at something like Scalding Tarn, the enemy fetch, you see how high it is still, at $75, and it came out in Zendikar Rising. Remember, Zendikar Rising collector boxes, I think, are $2.79 Canadian, $2.34 American, maybe a little bit less. When you look at those prices, you get 4 fetch, or 4 possible fetch. You probably get 1 or 2. But the fact you have them at a thing, and you can still get foil ones, like, it's nice, guys, okay? You really can do well. I got as many as 5. 3 of them being fetch lands in one box. So it's something to think about, that if the price is too high on a Modern Horizons, you might just go and buy a Zendikar Rising collector box and at least guarantee yourself some. I think it's a little underrated, and I don't think people realize that, you know, it's a very good deal if you're going to get some of these, and some could be foil that you might trade in to get regular ones. You know, there's a good cash exchange on those. But they got to bring it down because 75 is pretty expensive for one particular land you need to have a few of. I used to not even realize these were any good because I used to use fetch. I used to use my dual lands, but then my buddy would use a fetch land to get a dual land of the exact color he needed. I was kind of blown away. So then I realized, oh yeah, these are good. Now, here are beautiful, you know, amazing fetch lands. You know, Zendikar ones, which are called, like, you know, the enemy fetch. Then we got the Onslaught ones. So we have Flooded Strand, Polluted Delta, Windswept Heath, Wooded Foothills, Bloodstained Mire, Misty Rain Forest is part of the enemy fetch, Marsh Flats enemy, Arid Mesa enemy, Venerant Catacombs enemy, and Scalding Tarn is enemy. These are very decent lands. I'm putting these up just so players who may not be aware of it can really get a good gander at how awesome they are. And they really are, guys. They blow my mind now when I see them. And I realize this is a topic we can cover because all about the fetch means we got to bring these prices down. It goes into our decks daily for most of the decks we construct. And we don't want to be changing cards all the time. But remember, they're always going to reprint these. So they're not collectible the same way unless you go for like an original expedition. From like Battle for Zendikar, those will hold value, okay? For those who are asking me that later, it's going to hold value. Now, recent sales are kind of scary. When you see a recent sale here and you say, wow, it's like $84, 64 on one of the ones, but it had like $25 shipping, they're going for $85 Canadian. They're going for $75 American. It's a fact. It's the way it's going to be for an expensive, you know, card of this nature. I hate to say it, but it is what it is, and it is expensive, right? And when you see over at the sold listings, the asked for sold, you see the one at the top corner, 305, that's for the original expeditions, okay? They're very expensive in Canadian dollars. And you see 57 and 80 there for some of the recent sold. Again, one was like, buy it now, best offer accepted. They're still really expensive when you add the shipping and fees into it, guys. Great cards, but remember, it's expensive. You might want to start with the allied fetches that are going to be a little bit cheaper to get when you start out. Because let's face it, when I look at the price chart on this and I see how it's moving, the fetch lands aren't going down anytime soon. They're kind of priced high right now just because there's a scarcity in the market for how many players are playing and who's trying to build decks. So I don't see it sinking in the near future until Modern Horizons. Then we'll see a dip, but the dip won't even happen for the first 12 to 25 days. Wait till then, and then the dip's going to go down a little bit, and that's when you can pick up some of your fetch lands you might be looking for if you're missing any, okay? So, hope you guys enjoyed our conversation all about the fetch. I know it's pretty amazing to talk about. They are amazing cards, and I think people do understand how amazing they are. Just not everyone can get them, and this is something I think needs to be brought down in price for the average player to afford. I think Wizards is on it. I think we're going to see it Modern Horizons. Hopefully they make it a regular rare cycle so we can all swing in and have some fun. Thanks for tuning in. This is MTG Moxman. I will see you guys tomorrow. This is where I click things. I say shop smart, shop S-Mart. I'm going to have some nachos and cheese on Saturday, and that's the way I roll. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey guys, as always, big shout out to all my patrons out there. You guys are amazing, awesome, lovely, caring, amazing people. And that's the way it should be in the world. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great one, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.